The year is 1788. While the royal court dances in golden halls, farmers just miles away gnaw on blackened bread made from rotting grain. A loaf of bread costs more than a day's wage, and a whisper against the king can mean prison, or, even worse. But this isn't yet the revolution. This is the calm before the storm. Before the guillotine, before the republic, there were the forgotten millions who endured the unbearable. This is the story of their daily life, the life of ordinary people in France before the revolution. 18th century France was one of the richest nations in Europe, but only for a chosen few. Society was divided into three rigid classes or estates. The first estate, the clergy, owned vast lands, paid no taxes, and lived in luxury. The second estate, the nobility, collected rents and tithes, feasted and wore imported silks. And then there was the third estate, 97% of France. Peasants, laborers, servants, and beggars crushed under taxes that the rich refused to pay. They carried the kingdom on their backs and starved while doing it. For most French peasants, daily life meant a battle to survive. Bread wasn't just food, it was life itself. When harvests failed, as they often did, prices soared. A worker might spend half his income on bread alone. Many resorted to mixing sawdust or barley husks into their dough just to make it last longer. Meanwhile, in Versailles, King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette hosted these lavish banquets, rumored to cost thousands of livres in a single evening. The contrast was so extreme that, people whispered, "The king eats gold while we eat dirt." And when the cold winter of 1788 struck, famine and unemployment swept through the countryside like a plague. The common people toiled endlessly, farmers tilling lands they didn't own, craftsmen fighting for scraps of pay, women washing clothes in icy rivers. Their taxes were endless. There was the tile, a land tax, the gabelle, a salt tax, so hated that salt smuggling became a national crime, and then the tithe, money owed to the church, even from those who could barely feed their families. Yet the nobles paid almost nothing. Instead, they demanded unpaid labor, called the corvée, forcing peasants to maintain roads or build estates. Justice was for sale. If a peasant stole bread, he could hang. If a noble committed murder, he might pay a fine. While the commoners lived in dark, cramped cottages, the aristocracy inhabited a world of mirrors and chandeliers. Versailles wasn't just a palace, it was a symbol of distance. The king and queen lived as if France's suffering were a foreign rumor. Marie Antoinette's supposed words, "Let them eat cake," though likely never spoken, captured the growing rage of a starving people who felt mocked by their rulers. And behind the glittering facade, resentment boiled. Pamphlets spread in secret. Coffee houses became centers of debate. And the words liberty and justice began to echo through Paris. By 1789, the air itself felt electric. Bread riots turned to protests, protests turned to mobs, and mobs turned to revolution. The people who had lived unseen and unheard for centuries finally rose, not just against hunger or taxes, but against an entire system built on inequality. The French Revolution wasn't born in the chambers of politicians. It was born in the dirt, the hunger, and the despair of the common people. Before the storm came, the suffering. Before the cries of liberty came centuries of silence. The revolution changed the world forever. But it began with the daily struggles of those who had nothing left to lose. This was daily life before the French Revolution, the struggles that sparked a nation's awakening.